Hello patrons, it's Johannes from Noisebud. Have you missed me? I missed you guys. So I decided to release something that's not completely finished. It's an alpha build of a plugin that I'm working on. It's based on the Shape2 module from Sub. So if you used that, then you know what that is. It's an extreme compressor for low end. The thing with the Shape2 control in Sub is it's lovely in there. It's like you need some more control. You just need to compress everything really extreme and hard. Then you can use the Shape2 control. The thing is that I always wanted more control over it. It's just like as it is right now in Sub, you just turn it on and it's there. So I created Shape2 Advanced. Currently it looks like this. I will change a couple of things in it. I'm not 100% happy with all the controls, and I will also probably need some kind of high cut so I can control the low end, because this plugin will compress things so the information you have down in 15 hertz will be played back way louder, and that's not always a good thing. Sometimes it is, but not always. So I think I need something to control or cut away the deepest frequencies a bit. But I'm already using it. You have high cut filters in other plugins, so it's not necessary to have in the plugin. All right, let's start by playing a MIDI drum loop, and it's pretty boring. It's nothing special. It sounds like this. I'm bypassing the plugin, as you can hear. It's a programmed loop with just the basic sounds from the drum machine, from a drum machine, and it's not processed in any way at all. All right, so now we're going to apply Shape2 Advanced, but I'm actually gonna reset the plugin so that it is almost in its default state. Let's do it like something like that. Yep. All right. This time I will play half of the loop. It's an 8 bar, I think. No, it's a 4 bar loop. I will play 2 bars without the plugin, then I will activate it and see if you can hear something. You probably won't, because this is the default settings. It's not supposed to do anything. But here we go. Well, a tiny bit of difference. I could hear a little bit of difference. Let's do some extreme settings. At least a bit more extreme than those. There we go. Let's play it again. I think you could hear that. Let's listen to the delta of what I did there. I just want to show you that if you don't use, if you just use the part that attacks the low end, then it keeps everything above the crossover just as it is. So we'll just hear some low end if we're listening in the delta. The low end is just kept out of it. It's just playing with the frequencies, in this case frequencies below 60 hertz. We will use 100 hertz instead, just to make it a bit more easier to hear for people that don't have subwoofers and really good monitoring. I'm gonna play around a bit with this loop just to see how far we can go, and then we will start to talk about the different controls. Fun plugin, isn't it? You get such a control of the low end in a very musical way when you use this, and I usually don't use it 100% wet. I usually do a kind of an extreme setting, then dial that back with the dry and wet control. So that could be good to know. Not every time, but most of the time I do that. It works very well in parallel because it's line of phase. So it doesn't affect the phase at all. All right, let's talk a bit about the different controls. Let's start with where should we start? There's a lot of things to talk about. Let's start with let's do like a typical user case. So we're gonna reset this again. I realized that my version isn't resetted perfectly, but let's do it like this. That's good. Yep, okay. The first thing you probably will do when loading in Shape2 Advanced is to set the tilt filter that is called right now. I'm gonna change this name because what it is that it sets the peaks of the low end after you have processed everything. You can decide if you can afford to have a little bit higher peaks in the low end, and by that give it a little bit more punch. And it basically works as a low shelf, like an extreme low shelf, really sharp filtered low shelf. So you can raise the low end a little bit with this control. But you can see that there's a little green thing here. And what that is that it measures the upper part of the spectrum. It measures the peaks, or rather the average of the peaks in everything that is above the crossover. And then it calculates where the low end probably sounds balanced, and show you that with this little control. So we're going to do that. And when it shows that, then you can turn the tilt filter so that it is above the same place. Then you know that, okay, this is probably a good spot for the peaks in the signal to be at when the audio sounds as it does. So it's kind of to get a balance. So we're going to do that. This little button that I pressed is the reset button for that measurement. So we have set the tilt control right now. So the signal goes into a wave shaper, and that wave shaper will make sure that the max peaks are always at the max position, or at the position that you set with this control. And that's the compression part of the plugin. It's pretty easy actually. But a wave shaper normally creates a lot of distortion because you pretty much force the waveform into something completely new. And that creates a lot of harmonics, which normally, well, this wave shaper wouldn't be usable at all because of all the distortion it creates. But I'm using the same algorithm for removing all distortion that it's created by the plugin. It's the same as in sub. So it just takes away all the distortion, and what you're left with is from pretty much a square wave of the low end, you have a nice sine wave. That's what's happening when you take away all the harmonics from a signal and just have the basic tone. It will just be a sine wave, or not a perfect sine, but it will be a sine wave, sine wave-ish shape, if you like. So when we have done these settings, we can start to make some extreme changes. We can boost the signal that goes into the wave shaper, and that will compress the signal to an extreme. So I think that's this wheel. Then you're just pushing the signal. I think it's 10 decibels at the max position that we're boosting. So let's do that and see how that sounds. That sounds pretty nice. We're not going to boost that much just right now. Then we have different kind of shapes in the wave shaper. Liner is the default, and liner will just, it will just be a liner wave shaper. It's it's just liner. So since you can push the level that goes into the wave shaper, it won't behave liner unless this is at 0. So you will have more of a hard clipped curve when you start boost the signal. But we have a soft curve as well. And listen to how that sounds. I think of this as a bit more analog feeling. Then we have gated, and gated is just an experimental curve. Sometimes it sounds good. What it does is that it will remove it will gate the signal. So when the low end goes below a certain threshold, it will just take away the low end. And that is, sometimes you need to clean up a mix, and then this function can be cool. But most of the time, I prefer liner or soft. I think I'm most often at soft, actually, because I like that curve when it's smooth it out like that. It's not liner, it's smooth it out. So that's the compress low. We're pushing the signal into the wave shaper, and we have the shape, and we have the tilt control so far. Yeah, the low pass control, I think you get that. It will work with the frequencies below what you set this to. So if you set it to 100, then it will work from the frequencies from 0 to 100 hertz. And 90 and 80, 70, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Nothing strange. I'm usually at 60. That's my go-to position. I don't think you should use this higher release, but sometimes you need to when you really need to rescue something. But if it's already sounds good, you just want a little bit more oomph, then go lower. Go lower. All right. Then we have an envelope follower that will follow the shape of the original low end. And then you can apply that envelope to the processed sound. And this is what makes this plugin extremely powerful. So let's do that. We do that we're going to change the envelope knob here to 100. This is a percentage. So at 0, then it doesn't follow the envelope at all. And at 100, it just strictly follow the original envelope, but with the newly created low end. So you can compress the hell out of the signal, so it's pretty much just a one sine tone playing, and then you apply the original envelope to the signal, but with a bit of a slower release, and then you have a complete newly created low end that still uses the material from the original source, so it doesn't sound unnatural. It's not like you adding a new oscillated sine tone. The audio actually comes from the original, but it's extremely processed. So let's listen how this sounds. We're gonna start with it with a long release, so it pretty much just sounds as the original, or when it's when we're not using the envelope follower. All right, and this time we're gonna play around with it, so you will hear what we can do with the envelope. And this is extremely fun when you're working with electronic music, when you're really searching for that right punch. Sometimes you want something like an 808, you want it to have a bit of a sustain. Sometimes you just want that that thing that just hits your body short and hard. All right. When I work with electronic music, this is amazing. Say for on a house track, for example, you just can go in and just, and clients don't get it. What did you do to achieve this? I use Shape2 Advanced. It's easy. All right. Let's take it to something more extreme, and I actually gonna render these settings that I do, so you can download them, and I will loudness match them, so you can download the original of this track and the processed, and so you can compare for yourself. This is a song about my one of my cats that passed away like 10 years ago. Her name was Tiger, and she was a really cool cat. And she liked to jump from we lived in a 2-storage house, so she liked to jump from the upper what's called the upper floor, and she jumped down in the garden and run up again. So we made a song for her that's called Kamikaze Cat, and it's a crazy electronic like punk kind of thing. So we're gonna bypass the plugin, and let's listen to this. Just see if all the settings are correct. Yeah. I'm not gonna play the whole song because it's so messy. So this is the original without the plugin. It's mastered on purpose to be like a punk song, so as if it's not electronic music, as if it's something else. But if I would have mastered this today, this is a really old master. I think it's 15 years or so old. If I mastered this today, I probably would have done the same things, but I would have used a little bit more low end, and we're gonna use Shape2 Advanced to achieve that. We're gonna set it to the default settings once again. So I'm gonna choose a part of the song that's really intense. So bear with me. This is a noisy track. And we're gonna set the tilt first. So here we go. About there. All right. Now I'm gonna use 50 hertz, I think. I just want to grab the absolute lowest part of the signal. We're gonna compress the hell out of this thing. Yeah, let's max that. We can adjust that later. And we're gonna have it activated all the time. And we will use the envelope almost at 100%, something like that, perhaps. Yeah, okay. Let's have a quick listen to see how this sounds. Something like that. It's almost sometimes when you are setting this up, it's almost as if you don't hear that something happens to the signal. It just feels natural. Then you bypass it and it's just, oh shit, where did all that low end or all that feeling just go? And with this track, I think it's one of those situations where you're just working with it and wonder, is this thing on? And then you bypass it and it's just, oh, what happened? So I'm gonna render these settings, probably adjust them a little bit, and I'm gonna put up links so you can download it and listen to them. To see if you can hear the difference and if you agree with me that low end, to get that right is, yeah, it's so important. We're actually going to listen to another track where I'm going to play the raw mix, which is also very old, made by my friend Jonas, who had sent some tracks earlier. But it's an old mix, and I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was like one of the first songs he mixed, so it's not a perfect mix, but we're gonna use it on that mix to see what different it does on a raw mix, and then we're gonna also apply it on a master that I did on the same track, just to see that, well, you can use this in both situations. To adjust the mix or adjust the master, the low end in the mastering stage. So this song is called Toothbrush, and the mix sounds like this when everything, I haven't loudness matched anything right now, so it's pretty low in level, and then the master will be really loud, so just be prepared for that. So this is the raw mix. We're gonna do the same thing as we did with the last track. We're gonna start by adjusting the peak level with the tilt control here. So here we go. I'm gonna set it to 100 Hertz for this example so we will be able to hear what it does. All right, we set the peak levels. We don't hear that much yet. Let's start to play around with the settings and see if we can bring some of that low end forward. Oh, I think I found a bug. What was that? Jesus Christ. I need to do that again, but I'm gonna pause for that. Yeah, I don't know what that caused that. I had to delete the instance of the plugin and load a new instance, and then it was gone. So I need to to check that because that was horrible. Well, okay. While we're on the it was when I used this control, and let's talk about it just so you know what it is. This little dial, I haven't put everything, I haven't said anything, there's no text that describes this function yet. It says high pass, and that's the button in the middle here. But you also have a little control around this, and that will add the first harmonic. So let's listen to the delta. So that gives you a little bit of the first harmonic to, if you want to warm things up a little bit. It's pretty cool. But I need to check why it behaved like it did the first time. It's not supposed to sound like that. All right. I've made a quick setting here now for this track to boost up the low end, and let's listen to the before and after. We start bypassed, and after a couple of bars I will activate the plugin. As you can hear, we can bring up that oomph in the kick, and for me it does so much to the whole mix. From a mix that sounds like there's a lot of things missing, then all of a sudden you add the low end and have more of a correct balanced low end, and all of a sudden everything just fits together, and it feels like you changed a lot more than just a low end. It feels like you've done something to the whole spectrum, but you haven't. It's when you listen to the delta, it's just a low end. There's just no high frequencies in the delta at all. Let's listen to, we're gonna do the same thing with the mastered version. This is way louder, so get ready for loud, not crazy loud, so it's not like it's just the difference between the mix and the master in this situation is, well, like 12 decibels or something like that. I don't know, something. Okay, here we go. We start with a little less compressed low end. Pretty cool, isn't it? The tilt function, you don't have to put it exactly like it is. It's just the green thing is just a suggestion. It won't work for every genre. If you're working with some bass heavy electronic music, you probably can boost the peaks of the lowest octaves a couple of decibels. So I'm usually, if the green thing is where it is right now, then I'm usually around this. If I'm working with some acoustic music, I probably dial it down a little bit. And if I'm working with bass heavy electronic music, I probably set it like that. So just notch it up a little bit. Let's do that just for fun. Let's just bring in too much low end. It already sounds good, but I haven't really set the settings for this track specifically. I've just randomly picked the same settings that I did with the last song. So it's pretty easy to dial in something that sounds really good. And as you can hear, even though I'm boosting with the tilt filter quite a lot, it's still it's okay. It's a lot of low end before I started to play with the dry and wet control, but it's not crazy. It's if it was a track that a lot of low end was suiting, that then it's an okay low end to to so it's really, I think for me it's the best way I found to control low end without having to fine tune compressors and like a multi-band compressor and or equalizer in conjunction with a compressor. It's really cool. So let's talk about the other settings as well that I haven't mentioned. And there's a reason why I haven't mentioned the rest of the settings. It's because it's alpha build and they are pretty experimental. But we're going to talk a little bit about them anyway. Just to mention everything. Look ahead, that's what look ahead normally is. It looks into the future so that it can start to move the envelope, like in the envelope folder, for example, start to move that a little bit before things have happened. And it's a great way to control punch and where you want the audio to go. So I'm usually using a couple of milliseconds look ahead in this plugin. It works really well. So that's look ahead envelope we talked about. That's the envelope folder that you can apply with a percentage from 0 to 100%. The high pass button, it actually isn't a high pass. What it does is when this is in the up position, it will let the original low end that is below, I think it's 30 hertz, everything below 30 hertz will be as in the original audio. So it just leaves that alone and just works from 30 hertz up to whatever you have set with the low pass control. This is, I may gonna change this. What it does when you click the high pass, then it actually activates in high pass at I think also 30 hertz, but I don't remember the slope. It's set by ear, so I'm guessing it's pretty steep. I think it's almost at 0 decibel or at infinite silence, right below 20 hertz, like 18 or 17 hertz or something like that. I don't remember really, but I think that's one of the part of the plugin that I'm gonna rework a little bit. So you can probably set high pass a little bit. At least you will have a couple of values. We'll see if that comes in the next version or if I wait until I do some bigger change. We'll see. All right, and then you have the first harmonic that you can blend in. I'm usually not above 50% or 12 o'clock, but that's for you to decide. It gets a little bit warmer, and it's nice in hip hop and most electronic music. Then we have the dynamic wet and dry control. If you use Cosiden, then you know what this is. It's the same thing, but this is a bit faster than in Cosiden, but it works the same way. Let's try that actually. I'm gonna let's do it like this. We're gonna use that MIDI loop that I used in the beginning, but we're gonna mute the kick for 2 bars, and then we have 2 bars with the kick active. We're gonna I'm gonna do some settings with the 2 last bars here. It just quick set something up. Alright, so I've done some basic settings. Now we have a little bit more low end. Now we're gonna set the threshold for this. So let's do that. And you can see that I pushed this button. This button will set the level of the incoming signal so that it fits. So that it's easier to set the threshold, pretty much. It will make the peaks go up to the max about here, and you probably can have if you double click the control, you probably can leave that control at that position after you have used this button to calibrate the incoming signal. All right, we set that up, and now we're gonna play. We start with where there's no kick, so there's not much low end in the signal, and you can see what happens with the threshold here. I think you understood that, but basically the plugin becomes active as the signal goes above the threshold, and when it's below, it's completely turned off, so it just bypasses the plugin. And then you have a volume control for the signal when it's below the threshold, and that's very useful sometimes and not useful at all sometimes. Let's demo that as well. So we're gonna turn the level down by 6 decibels when the signal is below the threshold. Six decibels, you can hear that. You can hear the plugin working, how it turns the level up and down. But if we set it more like this somewhere, it's not as obvious, and it's really useful when you get a bit overcompressed material in. Then you can use this to just make it, yeah, so that when breaks hits and stuff, they just don't go up in level. You can adjust that with this control. It's pretty cool. Or the opposite, you can boost the signal when it's below the threshold. That sounds like this. It's just a little extra function. It doesn't have anything to do with the low end, really. That is a dynamic wet-dry control. Then we have a compressor, compress full. This is the compress low. This compresses the everything below the crossover. The compress full. This is an experimental compressor that it's RMS based, and it will compress the whole signal. And you can hear that if we listen to the delta and we raise this, you will start to hear higher frequencies. You will start to hear that it's working with high frequencies. I didn't demo that because it's not finished. It is sometimes a really cool compressor that sounds amazing, and sometimes it's just horrible and just destroys the signal. So you can. I would try it because it's when it works, then it works really well, and it just opens things up and sounds as a really expensive compressor, but it can also just destroy the signal. So be aware of that. Actually, let's play around with it. We're gonna put those kicks back into the music. Here we go. In this case, it works okay. Didn't do anything amazing, but it compresses the signal. The same thing goes with purr. This was supposed to be a peak normalizer so that the peaks wouldn't be higher than the incoming signal. I started to change the attack and release settings in that until it became a compressor instead of a auto gain function. So this is also a compressor, so you can use these two together. I probably will. I decided not to gain compensate this plugin, but I will probably rebuild this to a compressor, because exactly like this compressor, sometimes it's just amazing when you hit that button, and sometimes it just destroys the music. Most of the time it just destroys the music, but when it works, it's really cool. We can listen to that compressor as well. Let's put that to 0 and listen to the delta when purr is pushed. yeah, with the right settings, you can use that. It is what it is in this version. Sorry, my voice is giving up. All right, I think I talked about all the settings. Yeah, the release is the release for the RMS compressor, this release knob. And the dry wet control, you know what that do, and you know the delta and the bypass, and this is the reset for that little thing. So this is Shape 2, or the second alpha build of this plugin, and I think that you are gonna love this thing when it's finished. I think you're gonna love the alpha build as well, actually. So it's worth to download and play around with. And yeah, have fun with it. And I will probably, I'll continue work with this so that we have a finished version sometime soon. But I'm working with other plugins as well, so we'll see. Plus that I'm working with the Mac thing, signing and notarizing. So it's a lot going on right now. But I hope you have a great week, and I see you with the next plug-in. Bye-bye.